Real Madrid has won the Champions League 14 times, twice as many as their closest competitor. That's not just dominance, that's absolute supremacy in European football. But how do they keep doing it? Why do teams with better league form and higher expected goals consistently fall to Madrid in the knockout stages? In this video, we're exposing the 5 secret factors that make Real Madrid the undisputed kings of Europe. The psychological edge. Madrid's knockout mentality. Have you ever watched a Real Madrid Champions League knockout match and felt like the outcome was inevitable? Despite the scoreline, despite the statistics, despite all logic suggesting otherwise. Well, there's actually a statistical anomaly that explains this phenomenon. Since 2010, Real Madrid has lost the expected goals battle in 25 different knockout matches. In these games, their opponents created better chances. Yet something remarkable happens when Madrid faces these situations. They've only actually lost 9 of those 25 matches, while winning 10 and drawing 6. Think about that for a moment. They're more likely to win games they statistically should lose than to actually lose them. Their 36% losing rate in such matches is far better than any other major European club, creating a pattern that defies conventional football wisdom. This resilience was on full display during their 3P era under Zinedine Zidane. Take the 2018 quarter-final against Juventus. After losing the first leg 3-0 in Turin, Madrid seemed to have the return leg under control until Juventus mounted an incredible comeback to level the tie at 3-3 at the Bernabeu. With the match heading to extra time and momentum completely with Juventus, Lucas Vazquez was fouled in the 93rd minute. Cristiano Ronaldo stepped up in the 98th minute and smashed his penalty into the top corner, sending Madrid through despite being thoroughly outplayed for most of the second leg. The 2022 semi-final against Manchester City provides perhaps the most dramatic example. Down 4-3 from the first leg, Madrid was losing 1-0 at home in the 90th minute. Needing 2 goals just to force extra time, the situation looked impossible, until it wasn't. Rodrigo scored in the 90th minute and then again in the 91st, completely flipping the tie on its head in a 120-second span that defied belief. Karim Benzema's extra time penalty completed yet another miraculous comeback. What makes this even more remarkable is how other elite European clubs respond to similar pressure. PSG's infamous collapse against Barcelona in 2017, where they surrendered a 4-0 first leg lead, has become emblematic of their European fragility. Manchester City, despite their domestic dominance, repeatedly faltered in crucial Champions League moments until finally breaking through in 2023. Even Bayern Munich has suffered shocking exits against Spanish opposition when the pressure mounted. So what explains Madrid's unique psychological edge is not just talent. Many of their opponents have equally talented squads. The key difference appears to be that Madrid's players genuinely believe they're destined to win, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. This isn't just sports psychological babble, it's evident in how they perform in decisive moments. When trailing late in Champions League knockout matches, Madrid's pass completion rate actually improves by 4.2% compared to their season average. While most teams see a decline as they resort to desperate long balls, their short conversion rate in the final 15 minutes of knockout games is an astonishing 18.7%, nearly double their usual efficiency. Even their defensive metrics improve. They commit 17% fewer fouls in dangerous areas during these crucial periods, maintaining discipline when others lose composure. Former Madrid midfielder Toni Kroos once explained, "At Madrid, we never feel like we're going to lose. Even when we're behind, there's a collective calm. We know our moment will come." This mentality has been institutionalized through generations of players, from the Galacticos to the current squad. Tactical flexibility, the Zidane and Ancelotti blueprint. That collective calm Kroos mentioned isn't just psychological, it's built on a tactical foundation specifically engineered for European success. What if everything you thought was a weakness in Real Madrid's approach is actually their greatest strength? The same team that sometimes appears ordinary in La Liga transforms into a ruthless counter-attacking machine in Europe, deliberately conceding possession against elite opponents who have no idea they're walking into a trap. To understand this paradox, we need to examine the tactical contrast between Spain's 2 giants. Barcelona's philosophy has traditionally centered around possession dominance, a high-pressing, control-oriented style perfect for breaking down stubborn La Liga defences that sit deep and compact. Meanwhile, Madrid has cultivated a completely different approach, particularly under Zidane and Ancelotti, that might seem less dominant on paper but proves devastatingly effective against Europe's elite. During Zidane's tenure from 2016 to 2018, Madrid's setup appeared almost contradictory to modern football trends. While elite European clubs increasingly embraced high possession and aggressive pressing, Zidane constructed a team that willingly surrendered territory and ball possession. This wasn't a weakness, it was strategic brilliance. By deploying Casemiro as a purely defensive midfielder, Zidane creates a tactical foundation that allowed the fullbacks to focus primarily on defensive responsibilities rather than constantly bombing forward. This defensive structure served as the platform for Madrid's devastating counter-attacks. Kroos, freed from excessive defensive duties, could launch precise long balls to exploit the pace of forwards like Ronaldo and Bale. Against La Liga's smaller teams who defended deep, this approach sometimes struggled to break down packed defences, but against Europe's aggressive elite who pressed high and left space behind their defensive lines, it was lethal. Ancelotti has evolved this blueprint since his return. His 2022 and 2024 Champions League campaigns have maintained the core counter-attacking DNA while adapting to new personnel. Where Zidane had Ronaldo's aerial threat and finishing, Ancelotti leverages Vinicius Jr.'s explosive pace and dribbling ability. The foundation remains defensive solidity first, but the execution of counter-attacks has been refined through Benzema's link-up play and more recently, Bellingham's driving runs from midfield. What makes this approach so effective is how it creates a tactical mismatch in the Champions League. The statistics tell a fascinating story. Madrid constantly records lower possession percentages in European knockout matches compared to their La Liga games, yet their efficiency metrics, shots on target, conversion rates and defensive interventions all improve dramatically in these supposedly bigger matches. Take their defensive approach, for instance. Rather than trying to dominate through possession, like Manchester City or Bayern Munich, Madrid is comfortable absorbing pressure, maintaining defensive shape, and striking with precision when opportunities arise. This pragmatic approach may appear less impressive statistically, but it maximises their chances of success against teams that expect to control games. Both Zidane and Ancelotti share a crucial philosophical trait. They prioritise individual brilliance within a flexible tactical framework rather than forcing world-class talents into rigid systems. This approach gives players like Modric, Benzema and Vinicius the freedom to express themselves in decisive moments. What looks like tactical disorder to outside observers is actually calculated freedom, a system designed to create moments where individual quality can flourish. The genius of Madrid's approach is that it's specifically calibrated for knockout competition success, even if it comes at the expense of week-to-week league consistency. In a 38-game domestic season, their counter-attacking style occasionally falters against defensive opponents. But in the high-stakes environment of Champions League knockout football, where elite teams must attack and leave spaces, Madrid's tactical setup transforms from a perceived weakness into their greatest weapon. The Bernabeu effect, home advantage like no other. While Madrid's tactical approach provides the framework for success, the Santiago Bernabeu itself might be their most powerful weapon. The statistics reveal something extraordinary about this stadium that transforms even the most impossible situations into inevitable Madrid victories. It's not merely superstition, it's a measurable phenomenon that's become one of football's most fascinating psychological puzzles. As legendary Madrid forward Juanito once famously declared to Inter Milan's players, 90 minuti en el Bernabeu son molto longo. 90 minutes in the Bernabeu is a very long time. What began as intimidation has evolved into prophecy, a warning that elite opponents still fail to heed despite decades of evidence. The Bernabeu's architecture itself plays a crucial role in creating this advantage. Unlike modern bowl-shaped stadiums that disperse sound, the Bernabeu's steep stands concentrate noise directly onto the pitch. When 80,000 supporters rise in unison, the pressure becomes almost physical, a white wall of expectation bearing down on opposing players who suddenly find themselves making uncharacteristic errors in key moments. This unique atmospheric pressure manifested dramatically during the 2022 Champions League round of 16 against PSG, with Madrid trailing 0-2 on aggregate entering the hour mark at home. conventional wisdom suggested the tie was essentially over, yet when Karim Benzema scored in the 61st minute, the stadium erupted with such force that PSG's players visibly wilted under the noise. What followed was extraordinary, a complete psychological collapse as Madrid scored 3 goals in just 17 minutes, transforming certain elimination into advancement. The Chelsea quarter-final that same season provides further compelling evidence. After losing the first leg 3-1 at Stamford Bridge, Madrid found themselves 0-3 down at home with elimination looming. The Bernabeu's response? Not silence, but a defiant roar that seemed to transmit itself directly into Luka Modric, who produced a magical outside-the-boot assist in the 80th minute that changed everything. The stadium's energy became palpable on television broadcast as Chelsea's previously confident players began making positioning errors that would have been unthinkable minutes earlier. What makes these comebacks particularly fascinating is their statistical improbability. The data shows that Madrid scores significantly more goals in the final 15 minutes of the Champions League matches at the Bernabeu compared to their performance in La Liga at the same venue. This suggests something beyond coincidence, a measurable Bernabeu effect that manifests specifically in European competitions' highest pressure moments. Even more telling is how elite opponents make more critical errors at the Bernabeu than in other stadiums. Manchester City's normally composed defenders have repeatedly misplaced passes in dangerous areas. Bayern Munich's typically organised defensive lines have lost structural discipline. PSG's midfielders have surrendered possession in dangerous positions. These aren't random occurrences, but part of a documented pattern where world-class teams suddenly perform below their capabilities in this specific environment. The psychological impact works in both directions simultaneously. As opponents shrink under pressure, Madrid's players seem to expand, finding energy reserves and composure that defy normal patterns of fatigue and stress. The crowd doesn't just intimidate visitors, it elevates the home team to performance levels that exceed their normal capabilities, particularly in those crucial late moments when matches are decided. What makes this phenomenon so remarkable is that we're not discussing inexperienced teams collapsing under normal home field advantage. We're seeing the absolute elite of world football, teams like Man City, Bayern, Liverpool and PSG making errors they simply don't make elsewhere. The statistical probability of so many comebacks against such quality opposition defies conventional explanation. When rival managers like Pep Guardiola acknowledge Real Madrid as the king of the Champions League, who know how to win it better than anyone else, they're recognising something beyond mere luck. Madrid's dominance stems from a deliberate formula that combines psychological resilience, tactical flexibility, home advantage and clinical finishing, converting big chances at a higher rate than any competitor since 2010. This calculated approach to European glory often comes at the expense of domestic consistency, which explains the seeming paradox of Madrid's fluctuating form. The blueprint developed by managers like Zidane and Ancelotti creates an environment where players can improvise under pressure, fostering a system that transforms pressure into opportunity. So, the next time you witness what appears to be Champions League magic from Real Madrid, remember you're actually seeing a meticulously crafted system executing precisely as designed.